best zoveel mensen. Hey, ik weet niet, ik heb nou een paar leuke mensen hier achter staan die heel graag met jullie kennis willen maken. Ik weet niet of jullie bekend zijn met de serie Game of Thrones. Dus jullie kennen het? Oké, dat is mooi. Hey, ik wil ze gewoon gelijk het liefst op het podium hebben. First, Mr. Ian McElhinney. Eugene Simon. Ian Beattie. En Ian Whyte. Wel, the best thing wat ik jullie wil vragen om gewoon gelijk lekker een rij hier in het midden gaan neer te zetten als jullie vragen hebben. Jullie moeten de vragen gaan stellen. Dus ik zou zeggen, begin allemaal lekker bij elkaar. Kom hier naar het midden toe en stel je vraag.
To choose someone from the series to fight for you in a trial of combat, who would you choose?
I think because he's totally ruthless and he doesn't really care, I'd probably choose Grog. Good fighter, doesn't give a damn and will kill anybody. I'd choose Grog.
I think I can't help but feel a certain sense of sympathy for Oberyn Martell. Because I think when he showed how acrobatic he was before the mountain crushed his head to pieces, he was a pretty good fighter. So I'd like to see someone do that again. It'd be a good display.
I would choose Barristan Selmy. What was his nickname in the books? The Sword of Westeros, or the Sword of King's Landing or something? The finest swordsman in Westeros.
I would have chosen Jaime Lannister before he lost his hand. Thank you.
I have a question for Ian. There is the person tell me. Sorry. Did you ever read the books? There is a shocking moment in season 5. And a big change in the series and not in the books. How do you feel about that?
You should actually ask Ian Beattie how he thinks I feel about it. I just heard him say...
Don't ask him about his death, we'll be here all night.
I've made it known, probably too publicly, that I was disappointed, if not to say gutted, and that I thought he should have continued for longer than he did, because I have a feeling he still has a big part to play in the books. But there you go, they made that decision. I don't know why. We just have to accept it, you know, but I was disappointed.
Thank you.
My question is for you. In season... Yeah, for you, yeah.
I'm now Jerome. Good, I'm glad to hear it, I wasn't sure.
But in season 5 of Game of Thrones, there was this particular scene in which you got scarred on your forehead. How do you feel to play that scene?
Well, that scene particularly is supposed to be visually and sensually quite gritty and horrible. So when we were getting ready for that, I had a prosthetic ready on my forehead, which we'd done a full head cast for. So a little backstory before we did it was that to get the 7-pointed star prosthetic on my forehead, they cast my entire head. So my entire head was put inside a clay box, essentially, so that they had the perfect cast of my head. And when this happened, I thought, are they doing this because they want to give me a message that they're going to cut my head off in this series? Because I hadn't read the scripts by this point. And so it turned out it was just for that. They use a knife that cuts into the material, and the knife protrudes the blood whilst you're cutting. So you can actually feel the warmth of it, and by the end of that scene, it was drenched in blood, absolutely drenched. And it was really visceral, because we had to look as though Lancel was literally being tortured to death. And my nails were like claws by this point, because I'd grown them for 3 months because he's a feral guy. So that was my last day of shooting. I got a nail file, I into my nail in order to try to make the nails weak but not cut off. And I gripped the side of the table with a bit of wood, and I made them film it. And I said, "Are you ready?" And they said, "Okay, we're ready." And I squeezed and I broke my nails on the side of the bed in order to make it look as real as possible. And it's only in there for a second, but it counts.
It's like a proper actor, okay?
We were all at the back drinking coffee. It's a good thing I never played berries, because I promise you I would have cut it off. I would have, guys.
Thank you.
I have a question for Joanne as well. What are your thoughts about the development of your throughout the series? Because the first show was naive.
Sorry, speak up a little bit louder. I can't quite hear you. Sorry.
Is this better?
That's better.
Okay. What are your thoughts about the development of your character throughout the seasons?
I've been amazed by how quickly he's developed, honestly. It happened over a very short period of time. You know, when we first did the season, you could have thought that Lancel might have actually been quite a passive and calm kind of guy, because he shows up in front of Cersei and there's a sense of tranquility to him. He's dressed very, very simply. His eyes are almost kind. There's this sort of sense in him that, you know, Cersei, come and join the faith, because you have no idea how good life gets once you start to believe in the gods. It's fantastic. It's just a high. But then there's this sudden change. There is this sudden decision in the writers to burst into the brothel and arrest the High Septon. And that's when Lancel goes from being a member of a pious, calm order to basically being a member of the Spanish Inquisition. And that's what he becomes. And it's this natural, very violent development, which I really improve on, because the nature of this order is that it's got to be violent in order to get done what it needs to do. Because the working class that we're trying to, in some way, support, the labour force of King's Landing, no one touches them, no one hears for them. So yeah, it's pretty. I'm pretty happy with it.
Just went a bit blue there, so and I wasn't sure whether it was you or whether it was the lights.
So no, it's an amazing storyline. I'm very lucky to play it.
Favorite moment since you landed on Dutch soil?
Favorite moment since we landed where?
Dutch soil.
Dutch soil.
Dinner last night was fantastic. It was very good. We had a great night. But honestly, my own personal favourite was reading a letter earlier on today. That was my favourite bit. Like everybody else, I mean, last night was lovely. We got into Utrecht in time, which is beautiful. It was nice to see it, because we're not staying bang in the city centre. And we had a lovely meal, a great restaurant with great company. The PR team here who looked after us last night. Looked after us throughout the whole time we've been here. We're lovely, and they gave us a great time last night, so we enjoyed that. I would have to add one more thing. Actually, it's something that it's been many years since I've been in Holland, and usually it was in Amsterdam, which is full of horrible British and Irish tourists, you know. But I would have to say that being in Utrecht has been such a pleasure and such a privilege, because this is the most enlightened and civilized country I have visited. You guys really get it. You know how to live. And it's been lovely. Really nice.
And we don't just live, we are prostitutes. Thank you.
It's a wonderful, wonderful country. I mean, I've come here once before, and as I said, when I came here, I went to Amsterdam, and when we walked now down the streets of Utrecht, just the natural beauty of having any city that's first of all based on a canal system, it's just so stunning to walk around, because the architecture and everything about it, the civility and the friendliness of everyone, the multiculturalism of it as well. It's people don't give this town and this country enough credit. It's just fantastic. We're very lucky to be here.
Spread the word.
We'll come back.
Sitting here listening to Eugene. Actually, he made it out to this afternoon. And isn't it annoying for you that Eugene gets all the attention from the ladies? I said, what, that young, handsome, Talented. Swine.
So that's what he likes most about you, Trant. This is hating on me.
This is why people talk about it.
Just ignore the question. This guy's a bastard.
Oh, Eugene, I promise you, the next time you visit Holland, I will take you to visit the Bomb Tower. I promise.
Very kind. You're very kind. Thank you.
Hi. If there's one thing you could change about your character on the show, what would it be and why? And not dying and proper shoes. Doesn't that count?
That's my answer, done. Okay. If I could have changed one thing, it would have been what, honestly, I mean this, if I could have changed one single thing about my character, it would have been what was revealed about him in the last 2 episodes. The private side that nobody knew about that was revealed. If I could have changed anything, I would have changed that.
And how would you change it?
Don't care. You know, I mean, God, I could have beaten up old grannies, it wouldn't have made any difference. Anything would have been better than that. Absolutely anything. I always thought he was a coward, I always thought he was a thug, I always thought he was a bully, but I didn't see that bit of it coming. And it was real fun to play up until that bit of it. But I just would have changed that. I would have just left him a coward, a thug, and a bully. Because he was inadequate as a king's guard, and inadequate as a man. So I would have just, personally, I would have liked to have just done that and not had all that horror afterwards. I think I'd probably like to have fought a bit more. I lived for a long time on a reputation, and I was very grateful for the fact that eventually I did get to fight. Unfortunately, I lost, but at least I did get to fight. I'd like to have had a few fights that I won earlier in the series. In the books, when he finds Daenerys, he actually fights with the staff. Yeah, in the books when he fights with Daenerys, he actually has a staff, and I would love to have had a fight with the staff just for the hell of it.
I have a occasional thought that was something that I would love to have seen with Lancel is a brief, very, very brief snippet somewhere in season 4, let's say towards the end of season 4, where you get some idea that Lancel is still knocking about in the storyline, but specifically, I would love to have seen Lancel still with his long hair, still kind of the Knight Lancel, but basically on what he thought was his deathbed. Because I think that one of the questions we had earlier was that Lancel's character storyline develops so quickly, you know, that every time you see him in season 5, there's always some kind of difference in the role that he's playing within the story. First he's very, very pious, and then he's suddenly angry, and then suddenly he's the bully. It happens really quickly. And to make sense of it, if you'd seen Lancel lying on a bed of straw, maybe somewhere under a set, and someone coming in and sterilizing with a red-hot poker the infected wound that he got from the arrow that hit him in the chest, and to see him suffering and on his own and mentally very scarred, it would have meant a great deal to me to have seen that. It would have layered the storyline in a way that really allowed the full horror of how he's become so mentally detached to have been a lot more apparent, and I would have loved to have seen that. The second thing, I would have loved to have done some scenes with Dad, with Kevin Lannister, because I don't know much about what the relationship is like there, but it would have been great to explore it.
It's no secret what a bloodthirsty, inhumane psychopath Mountain is. And one of the things I would dearly love to do in season 2 would have been to go back into the recent history of the Mountain. This actually tags on to a question that was asked yesterday. You know, where does Game of Thrones go from here? You know, there is Game of Thrones, as it is written, is a story, and also a history. And the history of Westeros is soaked through with blood. The Mountain gets up to so many evil things in season 2. It could have got up to so many evil things in season 2 if it had been time to go back and explore history of the relationship. there were some really juicy scripts, actually. When I first got the script for season 2, there were some really, really evil, juicy scripts. I think I wrote some really horrible things. And gradually it was pared down, and we never got to do that sort of stuff.
Thank you.
This is written directed to both Ians. Did you find your Dutch scenes a little easy? Because you had all these people attacking you, and then you had the dragon queens, men on their side fighting with you, and for you, you're in the whorehouse, and they kill you. I mean, could you have picked a different place to be killed, or?
In my bed when I was 19, it would have been good, yeah, that would have been fine. No, I mean, I think it's something I've always said is I'm very, very grateful to David and Dan and Brian, the writer, for giving me such an incredible death. I mean, it's one that I don't think anybody who's seen it will be likely to forget it. So it was absolutely fantastic, and it just went on and on and on. So in that sense, no, I would have to say I was pretty happy with my death. I was more than happy with it. It was actually quite bizarre. I know I've told a couple of you that I've been chatting to the last day or so. But my eyes went down at about 9 o'clock in the morning, complete with blood tubes and everything. So technically there was a lot going on. But from 9 o'clock in the morning until we wrapped at 8 o'clock at night, I had prosthetics on my eyes and couldn't see a thing on set the whole time. For like, I don't know, it must have been about 9 hours. And it was really strange not being able to see anybody. I think there were people putting notes on my back without me knowing because I couldn't see them. But it was, it was a fantastic death. I wouldn't change a thing about it. Except it would have happened in season 7. I'm like him, it should have happened later. But as a death, I was happy enough with it because at least it was a pretty good fight. And ultimately I was overwhelmed by numbers. I think ideally I'd probably rather have died in a glorious battle, but at a later stage in the process. That would be better.
I think most of us are familiar with how further objectives dying in the series. Do you ever have arguments on set when the script says that characters should die?
Well, not on set, because by that stage it's too late. You're going on to do the scene and the story. Behind the scenes, you might have questioned the idea. In my case, I did. But if a decision has been made and the script has been written, well then the decision will be made and there's no going back on. But certainly, I know that things have been sometimes discussed beforehand about why you're going in a certain direction. But ultimately, the authority is the writers. The writers are the ones who decide which way they want the series to go forward. And it's their call. And even if it differs from the books, they're making a TV series, they're not writing a book, so they've gone and do it as they see fit. I would say, whenever anything we were filming, certainly in regard to my death, yes, I was told a couple of months beforehand that it was going to happen, and then I got the scripts wrong. But when you get the script, when you shoot the script, you're on set. It's word for word. It is word for word what has been written. What you hear on the screen is exactly what is in the script. There's not a word different. So the words are very, very carefully crafted. So there's usually very, very little argument. I think David and Dan know exactly where we're taking the show. And I think they'll continue to entertain us for at least 2 more seasons.
Just 2?
Who knows? But no, I'm really looking forward to season 6. I must say, I can't wait. And we're all in the dark. We don't know what's going to happen next. But certainly everything you hear on screen is in the script without any deviation whatsoever.
Thank you.
Hello, I have a question for all of you. If you could be someone else in the
well, I've always said that I'm not going to change now. If I could be someone other, I'd like to play Arya.
I would have loved to have had a go at the series of Theo Gregor. I just think they're great characters, I really enjoy them. They both have awful times, but they're very good characters.
The problem with answering your question is that I can't, because every time I've seen a character in Game of Thrones, the actor who's playing that character is so perfect for that role that you couldn't think of anybody else. I mean, you couldn't think of anybody else but Charles Dance as Tywin Lannister, or Nikolai as Jaime, or Lena as Cersei. So I consider myself lucky enough just to have got in on Sir Meryn Trant, and I was delighted. I will say that many of them sure did help us, but I, for one, when I first auditioned for the show, auditioned for a completely different character. And then the word came back that you haven't got it, and I was furious. I thought I did a really good audition there and I didn't get this. And about 4 or 5 weeks later they came back and said, would you like to try Sir Meryn Trant? Yeah, okay, why not? And the character I auditioned for was Jory Cassell, Ned Stark's right-hand man, who Jaime killed in episode 5 of season 1. So, yeah, I'm happy enough, yeah, I'm happy.
My first audition for the Mountain, it didn't say very much in season 2. Anyway, despite the fact not getting the part, the dialogue, the scene that I auditioned was something else entirely. I remember it being a scene in a castle staircase, castle tower staircase, and I have no idea who it was. I don't know what the character was at all. I totally agree with Ian. The casting is absolutely perfect throughout Game of Thrones. When I was reading the books, I read the books up to a certain point where my son picked up a book that was covered and tipped it upside down and I put it on my phone out and breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't really have that much time to read it further. But I always admired Balon Greyjoy from the literature because he had such a knack for the venomous put down. And they're all directed at Theon Greyjoy. And Patrick Malahide just delivers every single one with absolute perfection.
Thank you.
I was wondering, will you believe in the end on the throne, and when do you think you see enter there?
So who we would want to be in the Iron Throne?
Yeah, at the end.
Okay.
I have no idea. Just when you think, yeah, you know what, then they die or something happens to them. I'm not sure I even care. As long as Tyrion and Varys are advising them, then the people of Westeros have a chance. I'll give you 2 options. I don't think it will be Daenerys, because I think she's kind of on the point of demonstrating that she still hasn't learned how to govern in Meryn, and she's lost her most trusted advisor. We won't go into who that is. I don't think it will be Jon Snow, if only because, well, Jon Snow at the moment is dead. And even if he is to return, and I don't know this, but even if he is, I don't think that George does predictable. So I don't think either of those is actually going to get there. The story started with the starts. The story started with Bran being pushed out the window. Bran was a kid with great potential. Bran is still a kid with great potential. We haven't seen him for a while. I have a feeling that Bran is going to come back in a big way before this story is finished and could well become it. I don't quite know how or why, but I have a feeling that that could happen. And frankly, another possibility is, since nobody will be happy, well, not everybody will be happy with who they decide to put on the Iron Throne, there's a probability that they say, you know, the easiest way to solve this is just destroy the whole bloody lot. let the dragons loose and let there be a nuclear holocaust of dragons and tornadoes.
I just want to interrupt for this. It's almost time. It's morning. But the question is what you're standing right here.
I think Ian has said most of what I would have said anyway. I think the Iron Thrower is probably going to become a false symbol and something ridiculous is going to happen that no one can really predict. And I think that if Daenerys was queen, it would be terribly boring. It would be terribly boring. So I think that something else really unpredictable should and will happen.
Heroic man. I've always thought Arya Stark was going to end up on the Iron Throne. You know, she's her story arc, the story arc of Arya Stark has kind of gone in a different direction since I first thought that she might be the most heroic and worthy character in a story full of flawed and unworthy characters. But you know, I think everyone who's intelligent and worthy enough to sit on the Iron Throne is intelligent enough not to. It's in bad news.
We'll try and answer your questions quicker now so that you can all get them done, so we'll be quick. It's no secret. It's no secret because of the trailer that luckily my character is coming back for season 6, and one of the funniest jokes which I hadn't noticed until the end of the scene was that when I was running as Lancel, I'm basically wearing normally like pajamas, but the chains that go across me are stitched together but they're loose at the bottom. So when you run, you look like you're a sort of sketch out of Monty Python. I mean literally when you run you're doing... When I saw a take back of running, I said, guys, I don't know why you didn't say that sooner. That's just too funny. We can't do that. We've got to figure out another way.
Funny too, at the moment on set, we're doing the exterior shots of Harrenhal. And it's very muddy, it's very dirty, fires everywhere, it smells of burnt wood. And I'm doing my big entrance, walk across the courtyard of Harrenhal, go up to the cage where all the kids are, and choose the next victim for torture. So, action, I took 5 steps, and a bunch of horses walked across my path. I'm standing in front of a horse, and everyone is like looking for something to happen. And there's a horse. What do you want me to do? It's a horse. It was a while before we arranged the horses in another acting fashion.
For me, coming in off the boat in episode 9 at Bravos, where Arya first sees Sir Meryn, it had been a very long day. We had been out on a rowboat. I was standing on a rowboat in 28 kilos of armour. I was terrified. It was a very hot day. It got to the end of the day, we're at the last tank. I've lost about 20 pounds in sweat and terror for the whole day, and I'm really looking forward to my beer at the end of the day. We're getting the last setup done, and as we're getting ready for it, somebody gave Roger Ashton Griffiths, who plays Mace Tyrell, a chocolate cornetto. And he ate the fucking chocolate cornetto, I kid you not, like this. He couldn't have got more chocolate ice cream on his face, honestly, if he'd taken a bath in it. And I stood there for 15 minutes while they cleaned him up. They gave him a cornetto. That was a pretty funny day. Thank you.
Hi. In the coming season, there's a rumor another Ian is joining. Another Ian. Ian McShane. Is there anything you can tell us about it?
I don't know anything about it actually. I've seen a couple of interviews that he did talking about how Game of Thrones is just tits and sex. And that's the only thing I know about it. Which is, there you go. That's the only thing I know about his character and what he's done. Lancel?
I have no idea whatsoever, obviously, because I wasn't there, and I probably wouldn't tell you if I did.
I worked with him in Shane on Hercules, and he's a wonderful actor, and I'm sure the part he's been given is well suited to his talents, and I'm sure he's going to be wonderful.
I know nothing about it because he's only arrived on the scene, and some of us have left the scene already. I remember working with him years ago when he was Lovejoy, and I know that he's a man who will always speak his mind, put it that way, so pleased to see what tidbits he comes out with. I think he's already done so a little bit, you know, in his interviews.
Hello, I would like to ask how heavy was the part of preparing in the show, and was it comfortable, or was it new as an actor to be acting in it? Was it easy? Did it take training?
Are you asking if it took training to play the roles that we played?
Especially in the heavy armor.
Oh, in heavy armor, right.
Well, I can answer this for myself, because by season 5, every season, the Kingsguard armor got heavier and heavier. It started off in season 1 where it was made basically of composite plastic, and then they started changing it to brass and metal. So by season 5, the armor I was wearing, the full rig, was 28 kilos, which is about 4.5 stone. I mean, really, it was like your own little keep fit form, because you'd sweat about 20 pounds off yourself every time you put it on. It was extremely uncomfortable, especially in the heat, but the costume was so good that it just helped you assume the character. Suddenly you were standing up taller, you had the sword in your hand, you know, you were a Kingsguard, or at least you thought you were. So in that sense, as uncomfortable as it was vital to help me with the character. It was like putting on a character. It was great.
So was it a positive experience to be playing in that kind of gear?
Completely, because I mean, this was the wonderful thing about Game of Thrones. You get up in the morning, everybody else is working hard and has been for 2 or 3 hours, you get your coffee, you get in the makeup chair, you get in the hair, you get in the costume, and then you are walked into Westeros. You are walked into the throne room, and it is there, what you see. And it makes our job easier. It's as simple as that. It made it easier for me to play the character I was playing. The attention to detail in this show, it's not an accident. It's the most detailed television series I have ever seen. That's why I'm such a fan of it. The production values are second to none. And yes, it was an absolute privilege to put on that armor every day.
If I understood right, you were also asking about the sword fighting. Sword fighting with broadswords is not actually that difficult because it's not like fencing where, you know, it's a more complicated art, but it's a different style of fighting. There are basically 5 positions around the clock. There's down there, there's up there, there's up there, there's over there, and there's down there. But the thing about it is, because the sword is big and heavy, and because there has to be a real appearance of weight in the thrusts that you make, or the swipes that you make, it's a whole body job. There's no dancing your feet, there's no little sort of fancy hands running around above. It's sheer body weight, so you put your whole body into each and every swipe that you do. So obviously when you're working with the stunt guys in a sword fight, that's one of the things that emphasize. Plant your feet. There's no dancing as such. Plant your feet, use your full body, put the weight of your body into each and every swing. So there's a real sense that you are trying to cut through something.
So how long did it take to train for that performance?
It's not a question really, it took a long time. Basically what happens is, whenever you start, I mean, you normally, let's say, you might be booked for a 6-week shooting period, and you know you're going to do a fight somewhere down the line, week 3, week 4. You start working with stunt guys, and they would give you the moves, and you work through the moves sufficiently regularly. It wouldn't be like literally day and daily, it might be twice a week, whatever, sufficiently regularly that you get to know the routine, so that rather like learning lines, A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D, and you know it well enough that you're not suddenly going to jump to W, you know. and therefore you get used to the sequence. The people you're working with, many of whom are actually stuntmen, they're used to the sequence, so that between you there's less likelihood of there being an unfortunate mistake. But the big thing, as I say, is to give a real sense that you're putting your full body weight into a swipe, and there's nothing so light or fancy or frilly about it at all.
Well, thank you, that's all. Rest in peace.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Can I have a big applause?